I think Sonny Corinthos may be walking straight into one of the most painful traps I have seen in a long time. And in my opinion, the scariest part is not that an enemy could destroy him. The scariest part is that Sonny could destroy himself first. This is just my interpretation, but I feel like everything Ethan is doing has a purpose. Nothing about his presence feels random to me. Nothing feels accidental. I could be wrong, but the timing is too perfect. Sonny is already vulnerable, already suspicious, already surrounded by enemies, and now Ethan appears at the exact moment when Sonny's circle is almost completely gone. I look at Sonny right now, and I ask myself one simple question. Who is really left beside him? Dex is dead. Jason is arrested. Brick is barely around, and even when Brick shows up, he is not Jason. Brick can gather information. He can warn Sonny. He can connect dots, but he cannot stand in the shadows and remove a threat the way Jason used to. And that leaves Rick. That is why I think Rick's position is more important than people realize. Theory mode, I think Ethan wants Sonny to eliminate Rick. I think Ethan's real move is not to attack Sonny directly. I think Ethan's real move is to make Sonny attack the last person still useful to him. Rick may not be Sonny's favorite person. Their history is complicated, bitter, painful, and full of betrayal. But right now, Rick is valuable. Rick is helping Sonny legally against Sidwell and Cullum. And in my opinion, that matters. Because Sonny cannot just fight this war with muscle anymore. Sonny does not have Jason standing beside him. Sonny does not have Dex watching his back. Sonny does not have a full army of loyal people ready to move when he gives the order. So Rick becomes a shield. Not an emotional shield, but a legal shield. A strategic shield. The kind of person who can slow down Sidwell, pressure Cullum, expose weak points, and make Sonny's enemies hesitate before they strike. And I think Ethan knows that. If Ethan is truly working with Sidwell, or even quietly helping Sidwell's side, then removing Rick would be a brilliant move. Not because Rick is physically dangerous, but because Rick makes Sonny harder to corner. Rick gives Sonny options. Rick gives Sonny a voice in rooms where violence cannot help him. That is why I feel Ethan may be feeding Sonny doubts. Maybe not loudly. Maybe not obviously. Maybe Ethan is doing it with little comments, careful looks, and just enough suspicion to make Sonny wonder whether Rick is really loyal. And that is where Sonny becomes dangerous to himself. Because when Sonny feels betrayed, he does not always pause. He reacts. He cuts people off. He makes emotional decisions and then justifies them as survival. I think Ethan may be counting on that exact weakness. Very high I feel. Sonny's loneliness is becoming the weapon against him. I feel the bigger story is not just about Ethan. I feel the bigger story is about Sonny being isolated piece by piece until he has no one left to challenge his paranoia. In my opinion, Sonny is at his most dangerous when he thinks everyone is against him. But he is also at his most vulnerable in that state because he becomes easier to push. A man who trusts no one can be manipulated by anyone who knows where to press. That is why Ava standing with Sonny's enemies matters so much. I do not think Ava's position is just personal drama. I think it shows how far Sonny's world has shifted. Ava used to be one of those complicated people who could hate Sonny one day and still understand him the next. But now, if Ava is leaning toward the enemy, it sends a message, Sonny is losing the gray zone people too. And once Sonny loses the gray zone people, he is left with only enemies and ghosts. Jason is not there to calm him down. Dex is not there to prove loyalty through action. Brick is not present enough to carry the weight. Rick is the last strange piece still standing near him, and that makes Rick the perfect target. I feel Ethan may understand that Sonny does not need to be defeated in a shootout. Sonny only needs to be convinced that Rick is a threat. Once Sonny believes that, he could remove Rick himself. He could fire him, threaten him, frame him, attack him, or push him so hard that Rick is forced out of the fight. And if that happens, Sidwell and Cullum do not even have to get their hands dirty. That is the chilling part for me. Sonny could think he is protecting himself while actually doing exactly what his enemies want. He could think he is cutting out betrayal while actually cutting out protection. He could think he is being strong while stepping into a trap built around his pride. Theory ba. I could be wrong, but Ethan may be setting Sonny up for prison or death. I could be wrong, but I think Ethan's endgame may be much darker than simply removing Rick. I think Ethan may be trying to create a situation where Sonny makes one irreversible mistake. Maybe Ethan does not just want Rick gone. Maybe Ethan wants Sonny to be the reason Rick is gone. That difference matters. If Rick is eliminated by Sidwell, Sonny becomes angry. But if Rick is eliminated because Sonny turns on him, Sonny becomes exposed. He becomes guilty, isolated, and easier to destroy. That could give Sidwell and Cullum exactly what they need. A broken Sonny with no legal defense, no trusted enforcer, and no emotional stability. In my opinion, Ethan may be trying to make Sonny look like the aggressor. Maybe he wants Sonny to lash out in a way that can be used against him. Maybe he wants a witness, a recording, a staged confrontation, or a public mistake that turns Sonny from victim into villain. And if Sonny realizes too late that Ethan manipulated him, what can he do? That is the tragedy I see forming. Sonny may finally connect the dots. He may realize Ethan was pushing him. He may realize Rick was not the real threat. He may even decide to go after Ethan. But by then, the trap may already be closed. Maybe Rick is already gone. Maybe Sidwell already has the evidence. Maybe Cullum already has the angle. Maybe Ava has already helped the wrong side without fully understanding the consequences. And maybe Sonny, the man who built the Corinthos Empire through instinct and loyalty, ends up trapped by his own suspicion. That is why I think the Corinthos Empire could be crumbling from the inside. Not because Sonny is weak, not because Sonny has no enemies. Sonny has always had enemies. But this time, I feel the danger is different. The danger is that Sonny's enemies may not need to beat him. They may only need to let Sonny beat himself, combining all the theories. So when I stack these theories together, I see one terrifying possibility. I think Ethan's purpose is to isolate Sonny completely. I feel Rick is the final obstacle standing between Sonny and total exposure. I could be wrong, but I believe the plan may be to make Sonny suspicious enough to remove Rick with his own hands. If Rick falls, Sonny loses more than a lawyer. He loses the last person who can fight Sidwell and Cullum on a battlefield where Sonny cannot use force. He loses leverage. He loses strategy. He loses one more connection to family, even if that family bond is damaged and complicated. And once that happens, Ethan's true nature could finally become clear. Maybe Ethan reveals himself by doing nothing. Maybe the reveal is not a dramatic confession. Maybe the reveal is simply that Ethan gets exactly what he wanted and Sonny sees it too late. In my opinion, that would be the cruelest twist. Sonny does not get betrayed by a stranger with a gun. He gets betrayed by a whisper, by doubt, by timing, by the one emotion he cannot control when he feels cornered. This is just my interpretation, but I think Sonny's next mistake could decide everything. If he turns on Rick, he may not just lose another ally. He may hand Sidwell and Cullum the perfect opening to destroy what remains of his power. And I keep coming back to one final question. If Sonny realizes Ethan has been manipulating him, will he still have enough time to save himself? Or will the last victim of Sonny's paranoia be Sonny himself?
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.